service from New York to Chicago. This is a late afternoon departure with traces of a summer shower. At East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, two schoolboys delay their lunch hour to see the action. The tower operator appears with orders for a director's special now approaching the crossing. The weather is damp and hazy. It is late October, and the fall foliage is briefly enhanced with the Delaware and Hudson's official car, which was loaned to the Erie-Lackawanna for this inspection trip. The train continues at a leisurely pace, possibly to allow the officials time to pause and reflect on the antiquity of the rail location. On this last day of 1969, there was some concern on the part of these passengers as they await what was supposed to be the last run of the eastbound Lake Cities. It is evident that the Erie-Lackawanna still had a contract to handle the mail, even though the authorization to cease operations had been approved. As it turned out, though, the railroad, out of consideration for its passengers, did continue to run trains 5 and 6 into the following week through January 4th. This provided the necessary service for holiday travelers, as well as for college students returning to school who had faithfully used the rails as their mode of travel. The Lake Cities ceased on the Erie-Lackawanna, but the name was continued by Amtrak on its Chicago to Toledo run. This eastbound Erie-Lackawanna is the World's Fair, the name being adopted for the duration of the New York World's Fair during 1964. After the fair ended, the former train name of Lake Cities was reinstituted. Rock Island's Peoria Rocket arrives at Joliet, Illinois in 1961. Parlor cars were standard fare on the Rocket trains. There was no extra fare for this simple luxury, and seat reservations were necessary. In all of its pristine glory, the Peoria Rocket is seen approaching Englewood Station in Chicago a year later. Note the tapered corners, steam generator exhaust, and humpback made necessary by the costly rooftop installation of radiators. This locomotive, an Alco DL-109 number 621, was a very rare engine. Named Christine, it was repowered by EMD in 1953. This Otto Heuler-styled engine was the first of 4 such models on the Rock. The outward appearance does not show it, but the New York Central and the Pennsylvania Railroads have now merged to form the Penn Central, a trio of EMD E7 passenger units on the eastbound Manhattan Limited still display the classic Pennsy paint scheme as it passes through Valparaiso, Indiana. train number 90, the South Wind, is now wearing the Penn Central black paint scheme and intertwined PC logo. This train has crossed the Chicago River Bridge. It ran on alternate days to St. Petersburg, Florida, via the Louisville and Nashville and the Seaboard coastline. This is the Canadian side of the Detroit River Tunnel connecting Detroit, Michigan with Windsor, Ontario. Penn Central train number 52 has coaches only for a daytime run to Buffalo, New York. As it goes up the grade, a power set is returning to Detroit. We bring to a close this tribute of classic passenger trains with the Gold Spike Centennial Limited coming around the bend. The engine is the nickel plate Berkshire, number 759. The occasion is an excursion to Salt Lake City, Utah for the 100-year celebration of completing the Transcontinental Railroad.
We are just outside Chicago's Union Station in January 1968, as Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy train number 11, the Great Northern's Empire Builder, emerges into daylight to start its run to the Pacific coast. The snow highlights the silver sheen of the Burlington's classic diesel locomotives, as several cars in the Great Northern's new sky blue paint make a harsh break with the trim lines of the older, deep green and orange paint scheme. It was a cold day as the Empire Builder threaded its way through the switches leading from Union Station. Now we're alongside the Mississippi River at Savannah, Illinois, as the westbound North Coast Limited is headed up by Burlington Power. Note the attractive two-tone green passenger cars of the Northern Pacific. The Burlington's 484, number 5632, is really blasting the black smoke skyward at Buda, Illinois. In this dramatic overhead shot, the steam locomotive and its train meet the California Zephyr, train number 18. Aurora, Illinois, a city once known for its interurban trolleys, hosts the westbound Denver Zephyr on the Burlington. The smooth stainless steel flanks of the Burlington's passenger diesels provided a solid indication of the speed they were capable of achieving. They're followed by the stainless steel fluting of the passenger cars. Strictly business from one end of the train to the other, and what a sight. A squared-off observation car brings up the rear. There's more than just a hint of speed as the Denver Zephyr rounds a sweeping curve west of Aurora in pursuit of the setting sun. This time, it's the Burlington's California Zephyr dramatically showing off its full length, from pilot to markers, including 3 dome cars, as it rounds a curve at Naperville, Illinois. Emery and his camera are aboard the California Zephyr as it leaves Chicago's Union Station in 1965. This is train number 17, in its 17th year of operation. Most of this action sequence was shot from the dome car Silver Horizon. The westbound California Zephyr meets its eastbound counterpart, number 18, at Lisle, Illinois. West of Galesburg, Illinois, the California Zephyr sweeps around the eastbound Nebraska Zephyr headed to Chicago. Sunrise the next morning found the train 700 miles from Chicago, with 100 miles still to go to reach Denver. Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy Power graced the head end. The war bonnet paint scheme covers these locomotives, classic Alco PAs of the Santa Fe in 1954. An instrument car is sandwiched between the locomotives, possibly to test the Alcos after they were repowered with General Motors engines. Chicago's Dearborn Station is the scene of this 1961 departure of the Santa Fe Super Chief. The train is carrying green flags indicating a following section, in this case, the El Capitan, which ran behind it. The Super Chief gets underway on its run to the West Coast. The famous Santa Fe red war bonnet paint scheme is clearly visible on the lead locomotive. A short time later, the El Capitan pulls out of Dearborn Station. The locomotives are in classic ABBA lash-up. Note the adapter car to connect the regular height cars with the taller cars, operated only by the Santa Fe during this era. Later, Amtrak had more high-level Superliner cars built. Santa Fe number 16, the Texas Chief, makes its entry into the Windy City. The bright red Cuneo Press building was an established landmark, overlooking the tracks leading into Union Station and Dearborn Station. The Chicago skyline was a little thinner than it is today. The Texas Chief has quite a mixture of equipment in its consist. Santa Fe train number 23 emerges from behind the Texas Chief to start its journey west out of Chicago. We are at Willow Springs, Illinois, just outside Chicago. The San Francisco chief is routed to Track 2. Lamont, Illinois. The Texas chief crosses the bridge over the Chicago Sanitary and Ship Canal. It then comes around a long, sweeping curve towards the camera and turns and heads away from it. Semaphore signals have now virtually vanished from the North American railroad scene. Santa Fe train number 19, the Chief, is slowing for the station stop at Joliet, Illinois. With the passengers aboard, the long train of stainless steel cars resumes its westward journey. Near Chicago, Union Pacific combined trains 104 and 108, a through train with the Milwaukee Road, heads into Union Station. It is 1958, and we are at Iola, Kansas, as Santa Fe train number 212, the Tulsan, arrives behind EMD E8A number 81. The sleek unit with its red paint and stainless steel sides is soon underway. An unidentified Santa Fe passenger train moves right along east of Garden City, Kansas at milepost 402. A tall grain elevator dominates the background. After a brief station stop, the train is soon underway again. At Lamar, Kansas, a passenger train arrives behind one of Santa Fe's classic Alco PA diesel locomotives. While the PA and its train are in the station, another Alco, an RSD-4, switches freight cars nearby. The PA soon resumes its journey and gets underway with the large plumes of smoke that were typical of Alco power. No wonder someone remarked that PAs should be designated as honorary steam locomotives. A Santa Fe mixed train, local number 67, was photographed alongside U.S. Route 54 west of Wichita. The single GP7, a hopper car, and a combine slow down for the crossing and then pick up speed. Emory is continued westward to La Junta, Colorado. Santa Fe train number 23, the westbound Grand Canyon, flashes past. A week later, again at La Junta, the Super Chief departs.